Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today I'm building Momo Yaoyorozu from My Hero Academia. For a bit of background, Yaoyorozu is a student at UA, the most prestigious high school for upcoming heroes. It's kind of like superhero Hogwarts, or like if the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters had a baby with Harvard. Yaoyorozu is a talented student who bypassed the normal entrance exam and got in on a recommendation, thanks in no small part to her quirk, Creation, which lets her turn the fat cells in her body into any non-living material she wants, as long as she knows the molecular structure of whatever it is she's making. She has a few confidence issues early on thanks to losing badly at the UA Sports Festival, but she overcomes them and becomes an inventive and capable fighter, taking the name Creati, the Everything Hero. So what do we want from this build? Well, since we're the Everything Hero, we need to be able to create everything, from shields to rollerblades to weapons. We'll especially need to make our signature cannons to blast away any giant robots that get in our way. But a hero needs to be more than just her toys, so we'll need the fighting skills to keep up when people invade our personal bubble. Looking over at ability scores, I'll be using the standard point array. Feel free to roll for stats if you want, but be aware that 4 out of our 6 stats need to be high enough to multiclass. This one gets a little complicated. First of all, strength is going to be our dump stat. We just don't need it, and we do have to dump something. We do need dexterity, though. That leotard isn't exactly heavy armor. I would prefer Constitution to be higher, but it isn't a multi-class requirement, and we'll make it a little higher later on. Our Intelligence does need to be up there, though. We can remember the molecular structure of nitinol alloy and weave it into the molecular structure of a scarf. We need to be brainy. Wisdom and Charisma are honestly a little interchangeable here. They'll be even by the end of the build, so for now I've got Wisdom at 13 and Charisma at 12. Yaoyorozu is a human, and although she's a quirky human, meaning that she has a superpower, normal, non-variant human actually works better here, giving us +1 to all of our ability scores. We'll take the noble background for proficiency in history and persuasion, but we'll swap the gaming set proficiency out for some sweet piano skills so we can wow the crowds at the culture festival. Starting off as an artificer, we get 2 skills. I would say that nature is the skill for remembering material properties and molecular structures, so take that as well as investigation. Momo's really good at noticing tiny details and using them to her advantage. Artificers get proficiency with Thieves' Tools, Tinker's Tools, and one other kind of Artisan's Tools, and Alchemist Supplies seems like a good way to experiment with different materials and chemicals. Speaking of tools, we get Tool Expertise, doubling our proficiency bonus with any tools we're already proficient with, and we'll start our creative exploits with Right Tool for the Job, letting us create a set of any kind of tools with an hour of work. The tools aren't magic, but they are permanent unless we make another set. We can give our class some tutoring with Flash of Genius, using our reaction to add our intelligence modifier to an ability check or saving throw that we or a creature within 30 feet of us makes a number of times per long rest equal to our intelligence modifier. We're also magical tinkerers, letting us apply minor sensory effects to tiny objects. This can be a smell, a light, an image, a recorded message, something small like that. For some more robust magical creations, we get infusions, a list of magic items that we can make during a long rest. We can only make 3 at once, and no 2 can be the same, but they last until we either die or make more. We can make sending stones for a 2-way radio, goggles of night to see in the dark, a rope of climbing for a Batman-style grapple gun, or a cap of water breathing for a scuba mask. Repeating shot will make a weapon that makes its own ammunition, and resistant armor gives resistance to your choice of acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder damage. Pick lightning and give it to Kaminari. Maybe he won't fry his brain. 3rd level artificers get to pick a specialty, and I'm thinking Artillerist. We get proficiency with woodcarver's tools and a bunch of spells that we always have prepared. Part of the fun of Yaoyorozu is that her spells aren't spells, they're items. Shield is an actual metal shield. Thunderwave is a giant speaker, Fireball is a grenade, that sort of thing. To go along with those, we can make a wand or staff into an arcane firearm, letting us use it as a spellcasting focus and adding a d8 to the damage of any artificer spell we cast with it. More importantly, we get to summon our Eldritch Cannon, and since we're 9th level, our cannons are especially explosive. We can use our action to make a small or tiny cannon next to us, choosing between a flamethrower, a force ballista, or a protector that we can activate as a bonus action. The flamethrower forces a dexterity save on creatures in a 15-foot cone, dealing 3d8 fire damage on a fail, half that on a success. The ballista makes a ranged spell attack against a creature within 120 feet, dealing 3d8 force damage and pushing the target back 5 feet. And the Protector gives itself and creatures of your choice within 10 feet of it temporary HP equal to 1d8 plus our intelligence modifier. We can summon 1 cannon per long rest, but we can burn a spell slot to summon another, though we can only have one out at a time. When we're done with the cannon, we can use our action to detonate it, dealing 3d8 force damage to any creatures within 20 feet of it who fail a dexterity save, half that on a success. We get 2 ability score improvements before we switch classes, and Keen Mind is great for us. Our intelligence goes up by 1, we can always find north, and we know how long it is until the next sunset or sunrise. But most importantly, we can remember anything that we have heard or seen in the past month. Not only does this help us recall molecular structures for our creations, it's also pretty great when it comes time to study for midterms. With our other ability score improvement, we'll round off both dexterity and intelligence because even numbers make me smile. Switching gears, we'll jump over to Warlock for a few levels. We're here for one thing and one thing only, Pact of the Blade. We can create a melee weapon in our hand as an action, and we're proficient with it as long as we're holding it. Momo's pretty good with a staff, maybe go for that. We also get 2 Eldritch Invocations. Improved Pact Weapon makes our Pact of the Blade into a magic weapon, giving it +1 to attack and damage rolls, as well as letting us make it a bow or a crossbow. It doesn't say anything about making ammunition for the bow, so combine it with your infusions to make it a repeating shot. Originally, I was going to take Arcane Gunslinger for our second invocation to let us make guns with our Pact of the Blade, but both it and Improved Pact Weapon have Pact of the Blade as a prerequisite, and you can only retrain 1 invocation per level, so take Mask of Many Faces instead to create a disguise for yourself at will. We do get to pick a patron, but none of them are really that compelling to me for Momo. Hexblade could be interesting, but Momo doesn't really curse people, and she isn't really beholden to a specific weapon, she just kind of makes them on the fly. So we'll go with Ghost in the Machine instead. We learn the on-off cantrip, get proficiency with hacking tools, and can use Information Surge to knock out a computer within 30 feet of us with a little EMP once per rest. Next we'll pick up some wizard levels, joining the School of Conjuration to unlock our true creative potential. Minor Conjuration lets us create any inanimate object that we've seen before, as long as it fits in a 3-foot cube and doesn't weigh more than 10 pounds. The object appears in our hand or in a space within 10 feet of us and lasts for 1 hour until it takes or deals damage, or until we make another object. We can use Benign Transposition to teleport 30 feet as an action, or to switch places with a willing creature within 30 feet of us. Now, this isn't actually something Yaoyorozu can do, but I'm sure she would if she could, because not only does this refresh on a long rest, it also refreshes whenever we cast a conjuration spell of at least 1st level. Arcane Recovery lets us grab a quick snack during a short rest, once per long rest, to recover our lipids and regain a total of 4 levels worth of spell slots. And we're a Conjuration Savant, having the time and gold it takes to copy conjuration spells into our spellbook. Speaking of, we have a spellbook. Normally I kind of gloss over the spellbook feature as just, the place where we have our spells, but I think it's important to point out that Yaoyorozu actually does carry around a book where she keeps schematics and molecular structures. It's called, and I am being completely honest here, the Yaoyorictionary. We'll finally get another ability score improvement, and there are a couple of options here. We can cap off our intelligence for better Flash of Genius and spell DCs, we can boost our dexterity for better AC, initiative, and damage, we can take the skilled feat for proficiency with more artisan's tools. It really just depends on what you want to go for. Personally, I'm going to round off Constitution to 12 and Charisma to 14 to make our Warlock spells and social skills better, and to give us a good 20 more HP. I really don't like not having a positive Constitution modifier. Our capstone is the 1st level of Monk for some UA combat training. We get Unarmored Defense, making our AC 10 plus our Dexterity and our Wisdom, and Martial Arts, letting us use our Dexterity for the attack and damage of our Monk weapons, which are short swords and any simple weapons that don't have the two-handed or heavy properties, like, for example, a quarterstaff. We can also use a D4 for the damage of our unarmed strikes and monk weapons, but the staff's damage is better, so just use that instead. And we can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action after attacking with a monk weapon or unarmed strike. As always, I go class by class in these builds. If you want to mix the levels in earlier, you're welcome to. We have a bunch of multi-classing minimums, but they're all taken care of by a racial bonus, so these can be taken in any order, really. If you want to mix the monk in earlier to get the unarmored defense earlier, that's completely fine. Looking over at spellcasting, that 7th level of wizard made us the equivalent of a 12th level caster, giving us access to 4th level wizard spells and slots up to 6th level. Like I said before, the trick with spells for this build is figuring out how they can be translated into objects we can create. Light is pretty obvious, and we can pick up some damaging cantrips as well, but I'd also like to highlight Prestidigitation, one of the effects of which is to create a non-magical trinket that fits in your hand and lasts until the end of your next turn. We can also use it to make a lighter to light a stove or a campfire. We can make roller skates with long strider, flashbangs with pyrotechnics, gas masks with protection from poison, Sleeping gas, poison gas, nets, parachutes, health potions. We can make an actual catapult for catapult. Since we get 4th level spells, we have access to Fabricate. We can spend 10 minutes to convert an amount of raw material into a finished product. If the material was stone or metal, the object we make has to fit in a 5-foot cube. It has to be medium. But if it was wood, cloth, or something similar, the finished product can fit in a 10-foot cube or in 8 connected 5-foot cubes. We can only make simple objects unless we're proficient with the relevant artisan tools for more intricate work. This is why you might want to pick up Skilled for some more artisan tool proficiencies. Now that the build is complete, the question becomes, how good is it? Well, unsurprisingly, the ability to create practically anything is incredibly versatile. The possibilities are literally endless. We can use that creation power to outfit our allies with useful gear, too, with our infusions being the most obvious, but also our minor conjuration. The object not being able to take or deal damage is a restriction, but it's easily worked around. We can even give away our pact weapon as a +1 weapon if someone else can use it better. And even if we do, we're no slouch in combat. Our huge spell list gives us access to an enormous variety of damage types, and our Eldritch Cannon does a bunch of force damage from a significant distance, letting us control the battlefield effectively. On the other hand, our multiclassing comes at a very real cost. None of our ability scores are great except for our intelligence, resulting in lower Warlock saves and lower melee capabilities thanks to our low dexterity and wisdom, so our AC is only 15, though admittedly we can boost it with our always prepared shield spell. We also have roughly 100 HP thanks to our poor constitution and large number of wizard hit dice. And finally, we suffer from the same problem that the original Yaoyorozu did, namely that it takes us a second or two to make things. Most of our abilities use our action, with very few using our bonus action. Yes, that means we can make stuff and fire our cannon, but it'll take another turn to use whatever we make. But I really had to stretch for some of those weaknesses. Our ability scores are a little low to get up close and personal, so just don't let them get close. Outfit the team with gear, control the battlefield, and beat the enemy from the back line. With our ridiculously versatile abilities and a little help from our friends, we can definitely go beyond plus ultra. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you have any feedback or suggestions of characters to build, please leave them in the comments below. I do have a backlog of characters to get through, but I don't have a specific order to them, so if I get an interesting suggestion, there's no reason I couldn't do it sooner. Thank you for watching, friends. I will see y'all later.